In today's episode, I make a large wager with Clayton.
What?
I stand in the hole and play teapots. And Dave sets the pins on the big side. Morning. On the big site this morning, pouring foundations. Big Dave has given me a ring and said they're laying the mesh as we speak, so I could do with making the bolts up for him, so he's given me the technical job there, I think. So they're on with doing their bits. We're going to nip into Trent, get the bolts, and to be honest, it's a bit cold, so I'm going to make them up in Trent's building. Morning, John.
Morning, you alright?
Yeah, not bad, are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
You're good.
We'll get you.
Have you got a pallet of holding down bolts for plot 2?
Yeah, it's on the racking in the back there.
Okay, I could do with pallet sticking in the corner somewhere. I need to build the bolts up and I don't want to do it outside, it's cold.
Yeah.
So pallet bolts in the corner, and have you got some manly gloves?
Yeah, I'll sort you out with a pair of gloves.
Yeah.
I'll sort you out. Do you want to go and drop it down for you now?
Yeah, if you don't mind, mate.
Just put this out of the way. No problem.
While John's doing that, we'll give you a little bit of an introduction to Trent. So, Trent Fasteners and Fixings are a company that supply everything from industrial fasteners and fixings all the way through to your big brand tools. So we've got Milwaukee, Barco, Makita, Still, CK, Parweld, and a few other bits. And then we do everything from literally all your screws all the way through to any form of fasteners, fixings, power tools. We've got all the workwear upstairs, so we'll go and have a look upstairs, see if I can find a decent pair of gloves. So here we go, we've got all your big brand workwear. So we've got your standard Port West stuff, we've got some Still stuff, which is good gear, all your range of boots. In fact, there's not a great deal out at the moment, but there is a lot more in the back, I know. So yeah, anything high vis, anything workwear, anything in terms of masks or PPE, anything like that. All the gloves in the compartments over here. Plenty to choose from, all different sizes. So yeah, in a nutshell, the trade counter side of Trent is something that's new. We're gonna probably, maybe next time or the video after that, what we'll do is we'll take a look back at the history of Trent. We took Trent over a couple of years ago now. It was owned by a chap called Mark, and Mark decided it was time to retire and he wanted to sell. So we took over. So we'll give you the story of how we come to be involved with Trent Fasteners and Fixings, which is quite interesting. It'd be quite interesting to take a look back at Mark's history of how it become from just one man on his own to what we are here today. Sorted?
Yeah, all sorted. I've dropped the pallet down there for you. The gloves are off for you, mate.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right, no
Thank
worries.
you. What are these, John? I knew he'd do this. He wants me to look like a smooth criminal while I'm making bolts up. Idiot. What are these?
I thought you wanted a nice manly pair of gloves.
Now, I knew I couldn't trust you, so you were going to get me some smooth criminal gloves.
Yeah, they
so
were nice.
I got myself some man ones. I'll give you them ones back.
All right then.
You can have them. Okay, Clayton, I bet you by the time you've made a brew, I'll have made all the bolts up, all the bolt boxes for that site.
Yeah.
And I'll bet you £1. Ready?
Go.
Set, go. I will literally have every one of these laid out before Clayton gets back. Okay, so we'll start with the mesh. So this is the mesh that has been specified for this job, and what we do here is we'll cut, they come in 4.8 by 2.4 metre sheets, and then we cut this down into the right size to go into the bottom of the foundation. So the engineer generally will specify how many sheets of mesh, so he may want 1 or 2 layers. He'll specify what the grade of the mesh is and then what the spacings are as well. So you've got the mesh, we cut that into strips, into the right section size piece, as you can see. And once that's cut, what we do, if it's a single layer, we just put a spacer on. If it's a double layer, we'll put a spacer, tie it to the spacer, put another spacer, and then put the next layer of mesh on. So, and the spacers are here. So that's how the spacers come, and generally they're wire that is just all welded together, and it gives you, they sit like a triangle, and it gives you that depth there. These come in various different shapes and sizes. These ones are obviously what the engineer has specified for this job. So basically, once we've cut the mesh, we will put the spacer on, and we will wire the spacer too, and then that then goes into the bottom of the foundation. We pour the concrete over the top, and what it does is it gives the bottom of the foundation that extra strength for any ground bearing pressure. So for argument's sake, if that was the bottom of the foundation and there was no mesh in it, but the ground was a bit softer underneath, it could do that and ultimately break. So it strengthens the whole foundation up and does what it's designed to do as per the engineer's design. So I think the concrete wagon's just turned up now. We'll go and have a look and show you what we're doing over there. Okay, so we built all the bolts up, brought them over in the dumper truck, put each set of base bolts by each foundation ready. Concrete wagon is now here, so we'll just go and check everything's ready. Dave's set up, and we'll go and have a look at the holes, and I'll explain what we're doing and why. So as I was saying, obviously there's the mesh, the sheet of mesh. We've cut it to size. You can see the spacer bar they've put in the bottom there, so I think that will go in, and I think there's another sheet of mesh then that goes on the top. So over to the hole. Now I said earlier, when we discussed when we started digging, obviously there's the layer of stone that we dig off, there's the terram that we cut up, and then we want to be in the virgin ground. So you can see here, in fact I'll jump in closer. So as you can see, roughly we've got about 8 inches there of 6F2 that we've used, 6F5. We've got the layer of terram that we've cut through, and then as you can see, there's no topsoil at all. We're straight into clay, and we're clay all the way down right to the bottom. The base is sat on clay, so we know that's a good solid foundation for putting concrete in to do your spot foundation. So generally people know foundations as different things. A lot of people think of them as a strip footing like you would have on a house build or something like that. These are spot foundations, so this is just the one number foundation to take the one steel post which takes the portal frame, and there'll be the same one in exactly the same place to the other side. 2 posts go up, 2 rafters go in, and that is classed as a portal frame. So this foundation will be designed by our engineer, and it'll all be based on the ground conditions, the weight of the concrete pad once it's in, whether it needs mesh or not, the grade of concrete, the grade of bolt as well that we're setting in, so we know we've got a strong enough bolt to be able to take the weight of any pressures or forces. So everything is calculated, and that's poured in. And then basically, because we're in good ground, it gives us that uplift pressure. So for argument's sake, think of the building when you're building it and it's got a roof on it, and it's effectively like a big kite at that point. So you need the weight to stop the uplift. And they're also, in this case, because of the level of human occupancy for an industrial unit is higher, what we have to do is, there's various different ways of doing it, but we have designed the foundations for what they call castrado. Now castrado is the overturning motion. So let's say in the event of a fire, what we want to make sure is that the building itself performs well enough to give anybody that's working within or any neighbouring properties the correct amount of time as per the guidelines to get out of the building or to get away from the building. So so these foundations in particular have been designed, so think of it like the tennis racket on the foot of an Eskimo. The foot on the snow will just go straight through, the standard footprint, but if you put the tennis racket on the bottom like you see on the cartoons, that spreads that footprint and basically stops you going through, and also makes you more stable in that orientation. So basically they are oversized so that in the event of a fire, when the building, how it's designed to work, they basically stop the overturning motion. So that's the idea of a castrado foundation. You see they're pouring now, so we're going to have a look at what they're pouring. You can see the holes being filled as we go. So as you can see, we've filled the foundation up right the way to the top now, so you've got the full depth sat within the virgin clay as we discussed before. You've also got it sat up to the finished floor. It doesn't have to be up to this level. In this scenario, it's wherever Dave has set the level. So we'll have already ordered the steelwork based on a level that Dave is working to, and that level will continue throughout. So it might be up to the top on this one, it'll be a little bit lower as we go up higher on the site. But what it'll never do is it's never above in our case, because otherwise we'd have to box it in. We don't need to do that for what we do. So that just needs tamping up now, and then Dave will set the bolts in the wet concrete afterwards. So at the moment he'll finish pouring, and then once he's finished the wagon, generally he'll start setting the bolts as we go. So there we go. We're going to split episode 4 down into 2 parts because it's going to be quite lengthy, because what we want to show you is part of the CAD software in the office and how we do the mapping out before we take the total station to site. So we'll show a bit of that in 4B and show you how that works, and then we'll go back and obviously see the rest of the foundations being installed throughout the course of the afternoon. So we'll call it a day for now. So if you like what you've seen, hit subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and we will catch you next time. Cheers.